Good morning, students. Still, the lockdown is continuing, and we have no other option except to exercise this online system. The topic of discussion today is Death Be Not Proud, a sonnet by John Donne, a great metaphysical poet. In the early 17th century, a group of English poets started in a manner which marked a reaction against the style of the Elizabethans. For the Elizabethan poetry had a sweet lyrical note. It was rich in beauty and melody. It was smooth and spontaneous. It had a grace and charm. But the poets, writing in reaction to the style of the Elizabethans, replaced them by compression, wit, subtle and unexpected elaboration of imagery, roughness of meter, and realistic and cynical in tone. To this new trend of writing by these poets, Dr. Johnson was the first to give it the name of metaphysical. Dr. Johnson took the suggestion from John Dryden's following a statement about John Donne. He affects the metaphysics not only in his satires but also in his amorous verses, where nature only should reign and perplexes the minds of the fair sex with nice speculation of philosophy, when he should engage their hearts and entertain them with the softness of love. This new school of poetry, called metaphysical poetry, is more intellectual and psychological. The poets use learned imagery and argumentation. There is a peculiar blend of passion and thought, feeling and reasoning. Of all the metaphysical poets like George Herbert, Richard Crashaw, Henry Vaughan, Andrew Marvell, Thomas Carlyle, Richard Lovelace, Abraham Cole, John Donne. John Donne is the most eminent figure. He is considered to be the founder or pioneer of this new school of English poetry. John Donne was wholly unconventional in theme and expression. His independent spirit refused to submit to Petrarchan convention and Platonic idealism. His love poetry is afresh and original. He goes deep into his heart and dissects his own Elizabethan feelings. Donne's revolt against the sweetness and harmony of verse is illustrated by the ruggedness and dissonance of his lines. He went to the colloquial, to that which was nearest to the speech of men, for revealing his feelings, and yet he did not abandon the Elizabethan conceit. He gave it a new form, a new vitality. He made his poetry dramatic and rhetorical. Now I come to the text. You can open your text. Death be not proud is the title. It is also known as death. The very opening sentence, death be not proud, though some have called thee mighty and dreadful, for thou art not so. See, the anti-conventional theme is very much clear in the very opening line. Here the poet is challenging death. It is the idea that death is supposed to be something dreadful and everybody gets feared of this death. But the poet starts the poem as if he is ordering ordering death not to be proud. It is very much dramatic. It is the poem starts in the form of dialogue. It appears that death is before him and he is issuing order to it. Apostrophe has been used here. So, in the very opening line, in the very opening sentence, the anti-conventional theme is very much clear as death is supposed to be dreadful, but the poet is throwing a challenge to death and says it should be not proud of its might. People think that it is mighty, it is brave, it is strong, it is dreadful. But no, death should not think in this manner. It is not so as people suppose it to be. For those whom thou thinkest thou dost overthrow, die not, poor death, nor yet canst thou kill me. The poet says that death thinks that it can overthrow, it can defeat anyone, it can defeat all the people. But no, that is not the point. It is itself poor. The poet uses the adjective poor for death. It is poor death. It has no power. It cannot kill the poet. It cannot kill anyone, rather. The theme appears to be very much anti-conventional, and it is, you may say, that against the set ideas in the mind of the people. People are always fearful of death, but here John Donne is throwing a challenge to death and says that it cannot kill anybody, it has no power, and it is the misunderstanding of the persons, or it is the misunderstanding of even death, that it can kill anyone. It cannot defeat anyone. It cannot defeat the poet. It cannot kill the poet. It is itself poor, poor death. John Donne uses the term or adjective poor for death. So here John Donne appears like a lawyer, like a philosopher who is giving point after point, logic after logic to prove his point, how death is not powerful, how death is not dreadful, how it cannot kill anyone. From rest and sleep, which but thy pictures we. The set ideas in the mind of the people, or it is believed that death is like a sleep. Death is the picture of sleep and rest. When a person takes rest, or when a person is in sleeping mode, he is as good as a dead person. So even sleep and rest are the pictures of Death. The poet is comparing death to sleep and rest. Much pleasure, then from thence much more must flow. And what happens when a person takes rest or when a person sleeps? He feels energized, he feels pleasure, he feels freshness. So, sleep and rest are the pleasure giving things, and death is also a kind of rest or sleep. It is also a pleasure giving thing. So, people should not be afraid of. We take rest for some time, we sleep for some time, and when we sleep or take rest for some time, it gives us pleasure or rest or freshness. Imagine how much more pleasure can death can give. The idea seems to be very much puzzling, but there is some logic behind it given by John Donne. And soonest our best men with thee do go. And it is also supposed or thought that good persons or great persons die at an early age. They do not live long. It has been found that great persons die very early. It means they embrace death. The good persons, the knowledgeable persons, the great persons, the scholars embrace death at an early age. See the logic. Rest of their bones and souls delivery. What happens when a person dies? His soul takes rest or his soul becomes free from the captivity of body. The body starts taking rest. What does the poet say? Rest of their bones. Bones start taking rest. You know, in the Christian religion, after that, the people are cremated and their bodies are interred into the earth. So when they are cremated, souls start taking rest. Sorry, bones start taking rest. And what happens with the soul? Soul becomes free. Actually, it is relieved from the captivity of body. Soul is relieved. Soul gets freedom from the captivity of body. Body is a kind of prison in which soul has been imprisoned. So death rather does a great job by relieving, by freeing soul from the body, from the captivity of body. And what happens? Bones means body starts taking rest. Now see, the poet changes his tone. He says, and he again starts denouncing death. He starts telling that death is powerless. It has no power to do anything to anyone. What does the poet say? Thou wert slave to fate, chance, kings, and desperate men. Now the poet compares death to slave, servant. It has to obey because it is a slave. It cannot do at its own anything. Rather, it is a slave, it is bound to. follow the orders given by fate, chance, kings, and desperate men. What does the kings do? The kings issues order of death. Desperate men commit suicide. It is fate which decides the time of death. It is chance which causes death. So death doesn't do anything itself, rather it is a slave to chance, fate, kings or desperate men. So here once again we see that how John Donne is giving logic after logic to prove that death is poor, death is not mighty as it is supposed to. And those with poison, war, and sickness dwell. Death lives. Death lives with poison. You know, poison also causes death. It lives with war. In a war, so many persons die. War is also a cause of death. Poison is also a cause of death. And sickness, when a person falls ill or falls sick, he also meets death sometimes. So they are the reasons, they are the factors which cause death. Poison, war, sickness. And poppy or charms can make up sleep as well. Even poppy and charm, you know, they cause some kind of rest to mind. They are intoxicating things. They also, after consuming, help men to take rest, to sleep, and better than the stroke. And when a person takes opium, he gets intoxicated and he sleeps. And excess intake of opium or any intoxicating thing can also cause death. The death caused by excess intake of opium or intoxicating things, when a person sleeps and he never awakes. So death caused by excess intake of opium is more pleasure giving, more peaceful, more enjoyable than the death caused by itself. So death has no power, death is nothing to be dreaded of. There are so many factors to which it is a slave itself. Why swellest thou then? Then why it is boasting of its power? Why it is swelling? Why death is swelling when he has no power? Why does it think that it is powerful? It should not boast of its power. It should not get swelled. One short sleep past, we wake eternally. Then the poet starts thinking about the resurrection. In the Christian religion, it is believed that on the day of judgment, all the dead persons lying in their graveyards will awake, will get up. So here the poet is telling that when your short sleep, death is a kind of short sleep. When it will be over, when this period of death or short sleep will be over, the people will awake. The persons lying in their graveyards will wake eternally. And when they will wake eternally, what will happen? And death shall be no more. So when they will wake eternally on the day of judgment, on the day of resurrection, there will be no more death because soul never dies. Death thou shalt die, and what will happen? Death itself will die. So in the whole poem, we find that the poet is throwing challenge after challenge to death and trying to prove that death has no power. Once again, I precisely tell you about this poem. Death Be Not Proud is one of the important sonnets of his holy sonnets. The sonnet brings out his anti conventional attitude to death. The Catholic faith gives him a confidence which results in a challenge to death. In this poem, he speaks in a strongly imperative mood. The Elizabethans were afraid of death. People called death mighty and dreadful. Donne dismisses the notion he is proud and arrogant. The verse has a colloquial vigor. Poor death cannot kill Donne. Death has been personified, and there is often a rhetorical touch. The complexities lie in rhetoric and logic going together. Death is likened to rest and sleep. Shakespeare has also done it in the poem Poor Soul, the Center. Donne can sleep after life's fitful fever. To Donne, rest and sleep give pleasure. Donne alludes death to a sort of release of soul which is confined to the bone house. There is a tension between body and soul in Donne. Rest of their bones and soul's delivery points to some gratification. Death is a slave to fate, chance, kings, and desperate men. It is often associated with prison, war, and sickness. It is hardly more than a short sleep. Poppy and charms also bring sleep. Donne asks a rhetorical question. Why swellest thou then? One short sleep past, we wake eternally. Donne refers to resurrection. Death is a temporary oblivion. This is the Christian attitude. Like a child from the womb, like a ghost from the tomb, there is a more arrogant dismissal, and death shall be no more. Death, thou shalt die. The moment of intense passion are responsible for conceit in Donne. I hope the poem is now very much clear to you. Thank you.